Welcome to UNAM Chicago's CAFÉ EXPRESSO, a space for bilateral conversations with people from all walks of life. Tune in to Spanish Public Radio and follow us on social media. And now your host, Alberto Foncerrada.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another edition of Café Expresso. My name is Alberto Foncerrada, and I am your host. Café Expresso is a program of UNAM Chicago in alliance with Spanish Public Radio. Today, I am very happy to welcome Leticia Maki Teramoto Sakamoto, better known as Maki Teramoto. Hello, Maki.
Hi, Beto. How are you? Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. It's wonderful to have you here. Maki, she's the Director General for Protection of Mexicans Abroad. That's the way you call your the job, right?
Well, actually, that's basically our responsibility. The name of the office was Protection of Mexicans Abroad. Until June last year, we had a change in the internal legislation well, it's not legislation, but at the ministry. So from July, we are the Director General for Consular Protection and Strategic Planning. But basically, our main responsibility are all the Mexican men and women out of Mexico.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, that's a long title for a business card, but
yeah,
that's very good. Let me tell our audience a little bit about you. First of all, I know that you're a career diplomat since 1999, and I know that you're a proud alumni of international relations at UNAM.
Yes.
Yes, and you're a proud Puma.
Yes.
You also have a very extensive experience in foreign affairs. In the ministry, you have worked in several areas such as North America, Asia Pacific, and Europe. And you have also worked abroad in the consulate in New York. And if I recall well, you also worked at the U.S., at the Mexican embassy in the U.S. as a liaison for with Congress,
to the Congress,
right?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. Well, now these days, you're probably holding one of the most challenging jobs that one can ever hold, isn't it?
Yeah. It's usually one of the most challenging titles at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs of Mexico, but especially during these very peculiar and challenging years of the pandemic, it was certainly a very heavy load of work for our Direction General, especially for the team we have here. I took the office in August 2020. My predecessor, who is our consul in Las Vegas, took charge of all the people that suddenly they were, visiting other countries, working in other countries, studying in other countries, found themselves stranded in those cities or countries because the borders were closed and the airlines just canceled their flights. So he had a very big challenge in bringing all Mexicans back to Mexico. To December 2020, we returned almost 80,000 people from abroad. And besides that, we repatriated a lot of bodies, remains of people, and some ashes. That was one of the most important activities we did during those last 2 years. But the repatriation of the remains is one of the strongest activities we do from consular protection, especially in the U.S. Not only in the U.S., we've had more than 6,000 Mexican people who have passed away because of COVID in the U.S., almost 50 in the rest of the world. But the rest of the world, the cases are more challenging to us because we have to work with the national or local law, with the sanitary measures and all that. So we have to find creative ways to help people there and bring people back to Mexico.
Wow. So if I'm not mistaken, we have 80 embassies and 67 consulates. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think it's 68 consulates.
Okay.
I'm not sure, but the number is something close. And we are the only country that have 50 consulates in another country. Mexico has 50 consulates, general consulates in the US, and no one, not even the US, have a number like that.
Right. Yeah, that's impressive. And for the people who don't know, because I talk to a lot of people here in the US and they don't know much about what the consuls do, the consulates do. I know that your office oversees all these protection departments within the consulates, right? And for people who don't know, the consulates sometimes they have the documentation department that issues visas and notaries, papers and all that, but also the protection department, which is the one that oversees Mexicans abroad who are here just to protect their rights and all that. So you oversee all these protection officials, right, in all over the world.
Yes, we have a big office in the ministry. It's one of the biggest direction journals at the ministry, but the whole team involves all the consulates and all the officials at the consular sections at the embassies. So actually, I cannot tell you how many people are involved in protection affairs, but as you mentioned, there are 3 core aspects of every consular activities. One is protection, one is documentation, which is basically the issuance of passports, and in the US, the matrícula consular, it's a consular ID, and visa to foreigners, and all the birth certificates and the death certificates, and what we call poderes notariales. Mm-hmm. And then the protection, the consular protection section, which oversees to defend the rights of the Mexican people and to look for their safety, their security, and their well-being. And another aspect is, the community section, and they have programs regarding education, culture, health, financial health. We have what we call a ventanilla de atención integral a la mujer. Mm. It's a concept that involves all 3 main sections at the consulates to attend Mexican women needs. Sometimes women cannot, when they are in a certain relationship or in a certain environment, and they cannot realize the violence they are living in, or they cannot get out of that, through the Ventanilla de Atención Integral a la Mujer, we can help them get documents, get help, get physical and emotional help, and then some capacity training regarding, being able to defend themselves, being able to, find a work or begin something by themselves and for their families.
That's incredible. That's incredible. And I know that you guys do, and when I was in the embassy in Canada, you also do a lot of, for example, with protection for farm workers, right? That's one of the also, and the labor rights weeks that I recall that you would organize. Is that part of your also mandate?
Yes, it's one of the most important part of the prevention and consular protection jobs we do for the mainly Mexican people in the US, especially during the pandemic. We have to make sure that the sanitary and the hygiene conditions were met, that they didn't lose their jobs because of the pandemic, that the fares were fair, and in case they got sick, that they got medical attention. In that sense, the community section gets some, they have a health desk, a ventanilla de salud, And through the consulates, through the 50 consulates, they were able to provide with tests, COVID tests to people, and then vaccination. And in many consulates became vaccination centers, not only for Mexicans, but also for other nationalities, mainly people from Central America or the rest of Latin America. And they still do it. They still have tests, they still have the vaccination. We have a transboundary vaccination program with through our consulates in coordination with CBP. We got people from the Mexican side. First, they were employees from maquiladora sector, and then it became more, it became a broader program. So we got people in buses to get to a certain place, which is, you know, this sterile place. You are not in Mexico, but you are not in the US. Then you got the shot, you get back in the bus, and you get back to the Mexican side of the border. So we do provide a lot of work, a lot of help to farm workers. For example, last year we had a severe heat wave. And for example, we have farmers that are working under snow because that's the job they have to do. So all consulates are overseeing that the conditions are met. So and we have an agreement with the Department of Labor to have this. We have a yearly program, a week-long program called Semana de Derechos Laborales. And all consulates perform a lot of activities online or at the consulate to let people know what their rights are, regardless of their immigration status.
That is very impressive. I recall in my experience working for the consulate here in Chicago that we used to travel a lot. Me as kind of like the liaison for political affairs with the protection department, the head of the protection department, and it would be kind of like the good cop, bad cop kind of like thing, because I would be the guy who would interview with the mayor or something, and my colleague in the protection department would get interviews with the sheriff or the police department. Is this kind of like the strategy still around, and is it because I take it that communication is key for these things, right?
Yes, certainly. For example, one example of the coordination we are talking about is even though now the Matrícula Consular, the consular ID, is widely known in the US, at the beginning, we had to make a lot of lobbying with local and state authorities for the Matrícula to be recognized as an official ID for Mexicans that were not able to get a license or another kind of formal legal document from the US. So I remember that while I was at the Consulate General in New York, we had a whole strategy that involved, I was in charge of political affairs, and then the Consul for Protection Affairs, and then the documentation consul, because he issued the matricula, and I was lobbying for the matricula to be recognized. And then in the case of protection, so for example, police officers to recognize the matricula consular, because that shows where you live. So right. the authorities can easily track if you are in the state or you are in the city or not. And that's also helpful for us because we only issue matricula consular, our matricula consular, to our Mexican nationals. So yes, it's part of the strategic we have, and we also in some cases some consulates have a consul for economic promotion. So we also had a lobbying to that sector. So it's very useful having the matricula consular because you just have to carry it in your wallet, and that's all, not the passport that takes like this space, right?
Absolutely. You guys are incredible. You perform an amazing work, and you know that we work as UNAM Chicago. We work very closely with the consul general here, Reina Torres, who happened to be in your shoes a few years back, and she's very experienced. And I don't know, is there anything you want to add before we leave, Maki?
Just to mention that if you know a Mexican person that needs some, orientation or some assistance, please recommend them to contact the consulate, any consulate, if it's Chicago or any consulate that comes closer to their place they live. That's the basic suggestion we would have.
Well, we will do, and you can count on us for as partners always. And I'm very happy that we did this. This is very important. These are very relevant issues for Americans to understand. And I'm glad you agreed to do this. So really happy to hear to see you again, Maki.
Thank you very much, Beto, for the opportunity. And I was really pleased because, as you mentioned, I'm from UNAM. I'm a Puma. I'm Orgullo Puma, hashtag Orgullo Puma. So thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you very much. And to my audience, this has been another edition of Café Expresso. My name is Alberto Foncerrada, and I am your host. Café Expresso is a program of UNAM Chicago in alliance with Spanish Public Radio. Until next time.